How's it going, everybody? It's Erica with Not Your Average EDC, and today we're going to talk about hard use folders versus regular folders. This is a topic that I have made plenty of videos on, like probably too many videos on, but number one, it's something that I'm passionate about, and number two, we are going to take a deeper dive into this entire topic today, probably deeper than we've ever gone, because I really want to explain why this is still relevant. And I want to try to bring more information to people that are like less informed, because there are so many like thin and slicey blades out there right now. And basically, if you are like talking about hard use or anything, you kind of get shit on at this point in the community because people don't think it's real, but it like is. So we're gonna really make a long video about this and just go in depth as to why hard use is still relevant and why it's not like a fairy tale. So sit back, relax, grab a coffee, grab your breakfast, because this is going to be a long video. So let's just give a little bit of a backstory here. So if you guys have been watching the channel for any period of time or been following my Instagram page, you know that I tend to use my knives a little more than most people, right? And last year I was in like construction and house remodeling and just a really blue collar job where I needed a hard use folder, kind of like this. Like this was my ideal knife last summer. And I've had a lot of like blue collar jobs before that. Definitely jobs where you need like a pretty sturdy knife. This year I am working at a farm and I'm using my knives more than I ever have, really, but I'm not needing to use them as multi-tools as much. I have videos on that too, like that's a whole topic in itself. But I'm using my knives a lot, and I generally need a thin, slicey blade for the work that I'm doing right now. Lots of thin, slicey blades, and that's what's working for me now. So I know both sides of the argument. I'm very aware of all of the facets that come into this. But let's just talk about why hard use folders really are still relevant to some people. Like, it's not something that we made up to be cool. Like, it's a real life thing, okay? So right now I'm working at a farm. I live in New Hampshire. I work at a farm. It's called Lull Farm. And we have two areas. We have the one area that is 15 minutes away from where I work, and that's the main like homestead. It's like 253 acres of farms and orchards. I mean, we grow everything, and we have cows and pigs and all kinds of animals, and we raise them all. And they're all fed like organic food. They're not injected with crap. Like, it's just a very organic place. So the main area has a crap ton of gardens and orchards that produce the food that we sell. And then I work 15 minutes away from that at the smaller area where we don't have the gardens or anything like that. We just sell the produce and the livestock. Once it's slaughtered, we sell it at our location. So they sell it over there as well, and then there's also us, and we're just smaller, and we also sell it. And we're like approximately 15 minutes away. There are three main groups of people that work for this whole business, okay? So there are the Jamaicans, and they are the laborers. So they are the ones that take care of the orchards. And then there are the Mexicans. They take care of the livestock. And then there's us, and we run the stores. Now, I need to make it very clear. New Hampshire is really old-fashioned in a lot of senses, and the business that I work for is extremely old-fashioned, okay? It's not like we are segregating these groups on purpose. That, like, literally the Jamaicans come here from Jamaica, and their goal is to work all year until winter, and then they take their income home and go back home because it's worth so much more. Like, the currency is so different. They make a crap ton of money here that they can bring back home and really take care of their families. And then they go back home during the winter, and then they come back once spring comes. So every year they go home for the winter, they see their families, they take care of their families, and then they come back for the season. And their goal is to make enough money to actually get their green card to move to the States and live here permanently. And so the Jamaicans are the ones that take care of all of the fruits and veggies and the orchards and stuff like that. The Mexicans, they take care of the animals, the cows, the pigs, the chickens, all that. Again, their goal is usually to become a resident of the United States, and they live here during the farming season. They even have their own quarters. So the Jamaicans have their own quarters, the Mexicans have their own quarters, and they all live in a giant house together. And they each have their own quarters, and then, you know, we run the stores and stuff. Now, I specifically, me as an individual, I'm kind of in the middle, so I do half running the store type stuff and half of the labor type stuff. I work outside most days now, doing a lot of that, like, hard work, the labor stuff. I'm out in the sun all day. I'm taking care of the plants that get delivered, stuff like that. And with those hard labor jobs that me and the Mexicans and the Jamaicans do, you have to use tools. You have tools. You're working outside. You're doing physical labor. You're doing a lot of just hard work. So the Jamaicans carry one fixed blade and one folder. That's like their go-to thing, because they're out in the fields. They are cutting produce out of the ground. They're cutting so many things. Like, I'm not kidding. They use their knives more than anyone I've ever seen. So they carry one folder and one fixed blade. They don't carry any other tools because they're out in the field. They have to have their carry as light as possible, right? Like, they are carrying the bare minimum because they are working their asses off, and you cannot have a ton of weight on your body. Like, you are physically moving from sunrise to sundown. You want to be as efficient as possible. So their fixed blade is a multi-tool to them. Now, nobody ever told them that. That's just, like, literally what it is to them. That's what they say. Their fixed blade is also a screwdriver, a pry bar, a multi-tool, because it has to be. They need a knife that is extremely strong and robust, that can be a pry bar and a screwdriver and a cutting tool all in one. That is their philosophy. Like, you ask any of the Jamaicans, that is what their knife is. It is a multi-tool. And then they have a folder for more fine work, right? The Mexicans tend to just carry one folder. That seems to be all they need. It needs to be a hard use folder, but just one folder seems to be good for their livestock work. Now, if you went up to one of the Jamaicans and said, "That's a knife. Why are you prying with that? That's a knife," they would laugh at you. They'd be like, "No, this is my multi-tool. Fuck off." I'm not kidding, because that's really what it is in their reality. They can't carry a Leatherman on their belt and stuff like that. They cannot have that extra weight, guys. So it is still prevalent. Like, hard use multi-tool knives are still a real thing in this world. I can promise you, I see it every day. Literally just the other day, the lead Jamaican, Zachariah, who I work with very often, I gave him a Mora Companion, I think it is. And because he was carrying a 10-inch kitchen knife on his belt. He made a sheath for it, and that's what he was carrying for a long time, was a literal giant kitchen knife. And I was like, "Zachariah, let me give you something a little more small and compact that'll still work for you." And now he's been carrying a Mora ever since, and it is beat to shit. I will have to take pictures for you guys. We were working on a hosing setup the other day, and we were pulling the gaskets out of the hoses to replace them all because they were leaking. And without even a bit of hesitation, without even thinking twice about it, Zachariah took his Mora out, and that's what he was using to pull the gaskets out of the hoses. So he was holding it like this and popping the gaskets out. That is how they work. That is their mindset, and I completely understand it. He cannot be carrying a Leatherman and a toolkit on him in the field. It is too heavy. So his fixed blade is his multi-tool, and he was popping all the gaskets out. So I'm going to show you guys 3 of my favorite hard use knives and 3 of my favorite slicey knives, because I have been in both worlds. I currently live in both worlds, and hard use folders and hard use knives in general are a thing on Erica's planet and on the Jamaicans' planet. It is a real life thing, and these are all models that I have consecutively tested for a month, so I know that they can do it. But I want to show them because there are people out there still that have like blue collar jobs that use their knives as multi-tools. It's just a fact. And if you are in suburbia or working a 9 to 5 in an office and you don't believe that's real, that's fine. I'm just saying, like, on my planet where I work at a farm, having a knife that you can use as a multi-tool is really fantastic. It really is. If you can get rid of the Leatherman or the Swiss Army knife and carry a folder that is also a screwdriver and a pry bar and a scraper and a poker and a drill and a cutting tool, it's really cool. It's really, really cool. Okay? So these are all models that I have done my whole month of consecutive testing on, and it is proven in my world that they can do what I am presenting to you. Okay? So let's go over the hard use folders first. The first hard use folder that I have consecutively tested for a month that survived is the Emerson Mini A100. This knife genuinely can do anything that I throw at it. This is a knife, a model that I carried when I was working in a warehouse and I was doing a remodeling job at the warehouse. Nicole was actually with me. We kind of like remodeled the place. This was my knife for a whole month that I carried, and this Mini A100 from Emerson Knives can do absolutely anything that you throw at it. 100%. Extremely strong. The chisel grind, I know some people don't enjoy that, but for me, the chisel grind was actually really nice because it is so thick behind the edge and so durable. This will not break on you. And the best part is Emerson heat treats their 154 cm pretty low, like 57, 58, I think. It is a great cutting tool. It is not a razor blade by any means, but you don't have to be afraid of maybe hitting staples or nails or anything like that with this, because it should, in theory, from my experience, just roll or dent as opposed to chip. Very thick, robust blade. Just absolutely a hard use knife. I wouldn't think twice to take this and be pulling gaskets out of hoses or to be using it as a drill or anything like that. I've done it a million times. It has never ever failed. So the Emerson Mini A100 is a hard use folder. The second one, you guys can probably guess, Benchmade 940. Again, a multi-tool of a knife. Warren created this as a knife, but also a scraper for horse hooves. He was a rancher, so he wanted this portion to be flat so that you could scrape, like if a rock got stuck or something out in the field in a horse's hoof, you could take this and scrape it out without hurting the horse or whatever. So this was created as a multi-tool, as a scraper, as a cutting tool. This is, again, one that I tested for an entire month, and it can do anything that you throw at it. I really like the slim profile and the light carry of this. It's very reminiscent of the Emerson Mini A100. However, you have more length with the 940 and a slimmer carry. Much slimmer. And then you also have just maybe an easier locking mechanism. Now, granted, if you don't trust the springs in this, I would go with the Mini A100, which is a liner lock. If the springs make you nervous with your hard use, definitely don't go for it. But I have never broken an Omega spring, and I've been using Benchmades since I was 15, and I will be 27 this year. So definitely hard use, really good blade length on there, super robust tip. And I have used the butt end as like a pommel or a hammer, and it works fantastic. This last one may surprise you guys, and this might be an argument, but from my experience and my testing, the Chris Reeve Small Sebenza 31 is a hard use folder. I tested this for a month when I was rebuilding houses and remodeling them and all that, and this did everything that I threw at it. It was scraping, cutting, prying, poking. I think that people glorify the Sebenza as like the most elegant, beautiful, slimline EDC knife, and I think that's why many of them are considered like pocket jewelry or just like a thin, slicey EDC knife. I disagree. From my experience in looking at this, this is not the thinnest and sliciest EDC knife. If anything, it's actually pretty thick. I understand that it is hollow ground, so it thins out, but this is not thin and slicey in my world. Something like the Benchmade Bug Out or the Spyderco Para 3 is like pretty thin and slicey, but like the Sebenza is not really to me. So this is more of a hard use folder. It has a decent tip on it. It's decently thick, and it's just crazy rugged and reliable. I mean, that lockup is insane. The build is just, it's rock solid. And I paid $475 for this. I beat the crap out of it because I enjoy using my knives. I understand that a very small group of people will have like over $300 to spend on a knife that they're going to beat the crap out of. I understand. I'm just talking about Erica's Planet right now. I beat the crap out of this and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And if you are looking for a really reliable, hard use folder that you don't mind spending money on, the Sebenza 31 is a fantastic choice. It took all of the abuse that I threw at it, and it's just crazy rugged and reliable. I also really enjoy that it's super easy to take apart, so you can maintain it, and the steel, the S45VN, is really easy to touch up in the field, which I have done on a little pocket sharpener. All of these are super easy to touch up in the field if they lose their edge. S30V on this one, 154cm on this one, all treated pretty low. Very easy to touch back up if you lose your edge while you're in the field. So these are, for me, 3 really hard use folders that I would use as a multi-tool, and I have used as a multi-tool. They do absolutely fantastic. And if that's something that is realistic for you, if you work a blue-collar job where you're trying to minimize the amount of gear that you have on your belt and in your pockets, and you're looking for a folder that can take anything that you throw at it, genuinely, guys, I have tested all 3 of these, thoroughly tested, have reviews. They can stand the beating. They really can. Now, let's talk about 3 of my favorite, like, just regular cutters. 3 really good kind of thin and slicey cutters and slicers that I have also tested. So, that's kind of more my real life right now. I need something that holds a cutting edge for a long time. I need my knife to be slicey and just hold it. So I'm looking for a thinner geometry right now, and I'm looking for a specific blade length right now that is long enough to actually cut and saw and slice with all day. That's what I need in my world right now. All 3 of these models are ones that I've tested for an entire month straight, and they were absolutely fabulous for me for my consistent cutting every single day, all day long at work. So the first one, Benchmade Bug Out. I love the lightweight carry of this knife. I love the blade length, the blade shape, and the thinness. This will cut for days and not stop. It is really, really good. It also has crap in it. I tested this. This actual blade I tested for a whole month. This is the M4, and this is a knife that will cut for eternity for you because the geometry allows that. So even if you lose your working edge, the geometry should, in theory, continue slicing for you until you can kind of like maintain it with sharpening or stropping or whatever. Really good blade shape. I love the drop point, and I just love how thin and slicey this is. It will cut for days. I think I only sharpened that M4 when I was testing it like one time in the entire month. That's it. And I use my knives all day, every day. The Benchmade Bug Out is a super slicey knife. Highly recommend it. The second one is the Spyderco Para 3. So this is a knife that I hated. I fucking hated Spyderco's, and I was basically forced to test them, thank God, because it is fantastic. This is an extremely nice EDC knife. I love basically everything about the Para 3. The thin and slicey blade is really nice. This one has a really good tip on it as well. Sorry that the camera doesn't like focus very well. But this knife fills the hand a little better than the Bug Out. Like, the Bug Out is very slimline and thin and stuff, and if you're looking for something that you can kind of get a better like grasp on, especially with that forward choil right here, this knife just fills the hand much, much better. And it just feels a little more like rugged and reliable compared to the Bug Out. If you're looking for something that will let you know that you have the knife in your hand and that it's ready to work, this is definitely one of them. I love the Para 3. Again, a blade shape and geometry where, in theory, when you lose your working edge, this should continue cutting for you until you get home and sharpen it, because it is just so thin and slicey. It's a really, really good knife. And you should be able to get the skinny scales for it from many places. If you don't like that, the wide handle, like if you don't want it to fill your hand like that, plenty of places to get skinny scales for these. Okay, so Para 3, really nice, good slicer. And the last one that I've tested for a month that I genuinely couldn't find anything wrong with is the Spyderco Native 5 Lightweight. So again, just a beast of a cutter. This is probably my favorite blade shape from Spyderco. They have tons of blade shapes, obviously, but like, this is probably my favorite. I feel like it's the best of all of the world. It's not too high. It's not too long and thin. It's just like that perfect shape that allows you to cut for days. Nice forward choil, really good jimping, lightweight. Just a fantastic cutter that should be able to work for days for you without needing too much at all. I love the Native 5 Lightweight. Love it. And this one is a lockback, but the ones that I've had so far are very smooth. So I know it's kind of like an old-fashioned deployment method, but if you don't mind that and you're looking for just a reliable, thin and slicey blade, like 100% the Native 5 Lightweight is really nice. So those are some of my favorite blades. Like I said, guys, I know that it's hard to wrap your head around the fact that, like, there are still people and work environments where, like, your knife is used as something other than a knife. And don't even bother saying, well, you should have the right tool for the job. I understand that, but I want you to go out in a cornfield for 8 hours when it's 100 degrees out. And I want you to try staying out there for 8 hours, busting your balls, planting seeds and cutting things and just carrying heavy shit. I want you to do that for 8 hours with like a Leatherman and a big flashlight and tactical shit on your belt. If you came back to me after that and said that you didn't have a problem with the weight, you're full of shit. You're full of shit, guys. Like when you are actually working hard, especially in the summertime, out in a field wearing blue jeans because your legs will get cut up, wearing jeans, like, you do not want to have 3 pounds of gear on your belt because you're wanting to use the right tool for the job. that doesn't exist for some people. I can promise you there are days where I've gone into work with just one hard use folder when I knew I was going to be working outside, because it is so hot and you have to wear jeans because you don't want your legs to get cut up. You just want to carry one goddamn knife that can do everything that you throw at it, because you don't want a toolkit on you moving back and forth through a fucking field for 8 hours when it's 100 degrees out. Like, that still exists. If you're buying food, if you're feeding yourself and buying food, those types of jobs do exist, because guess what? The food is grown in a field a lot of the times, or in a garden. Like, food grows. There's somebody growing it for you. I can tell you right now, unless it's grown in a greenhouse, hydroponically, if it's grown in the earth, there is somebody maintaining that field, and it is hard ass work. I can promise you, I've done it. I do it. So that's why I wanted to make this video. I hope that this information of my real life on Erica's Planet helps like clear things up for you guys, because there really are people that are looking for a blade like this and need a blade like this, and it does exist. It's out there. It has been tested. It is tried and true. So I hope that helped clear things up for you guys. Go use your shit today. I love you bunches, and I will see you on the next video. Love you all.